Hey guys, welcome back to day 6 of Freak Week. Man, this week flew by. But I'm happy to hear that you guys have loved it so much. I think I'll definitely be doing this next year. Before we get started, just wanted to let you guys know that the Freak Week shirt is still available until Halloween. I'm actually probably gonna run it a couple days after Halloween, but it's gonna be gone soon. It is limited edition, so if you wanna get one, now would be a good time. There's a link in the description. But let's go ahead and get into our story for today. It's pretty intense. So I have gotten so many requests to do fictional, spooky, paranormal videos. Like, I get those types of requests all the time. And to me, I've never been into like scary movies or myths or urban legends. Like, I just don't get into that stuff. I never have. Black-eyed children don't scare me. If you couldn't tell in my last video, I just think it's such a load of shit. And to me, like, the things that are really scary and interesting that I get into are real life stories. So even though I have gotten this topic requested so many times, the topic of Slenderman, which is an urban legend that originated out of creepypasta, I thought about doing a video on just Slenderman and the story of Slenderman, but to me, I don't find it interesting or scary or anything because I know that it's not real. What I do think is scary was an attempted murder that was made on a little girl in the name of Slenderman. And I decided that instead of talking about Slenderman, I would tell you guys about this case. I think this should be a good lesson for people about spreading false information. You know, we talked about the Fantastic Daily channel that was really trying to make black-eyed children look real, even though it's totally a bunch of bullshit and he made the whole thing up. This kind of stuff concerns me. After you hear about this case, you'll understand why. Tales like the boogeyman and ghosts and all these things are fun, and I'm not saying ghosts aren't real because I actually do believe in spirits, but like urban legend stories, boogeyman, Sandman, vampires, zombies, creepy stuff like that. I think it's really important that people who do these types of videos or write stories make sure that they really get across that this stuff at the end of the day is for fun and that it's not real. Because even though most of us can read something like that and just be like, wow, that's so creepy and fun, or watch a scary movie and think it's creepy and fun, there are a lot of people who can't do that and think that these things are real because they've read them on the internet. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard about this case and this story. This made major national news.
And our big story at 5, two 12-year-old girls charged with trying to stab a friend to death after a sleepover. Police say they were inspired by a fictional character from the internet.
I heard about it a few years ago, so I thought it'd be interesting to talk about today. First of all, let's talk about what Slenderman is. For those of you who don't know, Slenderman is this fictitious internet character that originated on creepypasta, actually from this contest, this Photoshop contest that was all intended just for fun. And it is fun. Photoshop is total art. I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who know how to use Photoshop well and can create really cool fictitious photos. And that's what this whole thing was about. It's all for fun, no bad intentions. And Slenderman is really the modern day like boogeyman. He is whatever you want him to be. He could be living under your bed, in the closet, in the forest next door. People have so many different variations of the story because it's been retold over and over and over again on the internet. There's like video games, and the story just went kind of viral. He's this extremely tall guy, skinny guy, who's pale, has no facial features at all, which is really creepy because it's, you know, left to the mind about what he's gonna do and you don't know his intentions. Slenderman has these like creepy tentacles that come out of his back, so he's like multiple arms. He makes people like mentally sick and is known for creeping on children and kidnapping children and killing children. And there's so many different variations of the stories. But the story we're gonna be talking about today took place in Waukesha, Wisconsin. And this happened on May 31st of 2014. So there were these two girls. Their names are Morgan Geyser and Anissa Weir. Now, when things like this happen, people automatically blame the parents. And you know, it's hard not to, because you think, you should be monitoring what your kids are doing online. You should be checking their history. You can't just give them that privacy anymore. There's just so much out there for them to fall into. So both of these girls had access to the internet, but their parents were not bad people, and I really want to emphasize this. The parents definitely were not like deadbeat parents who didn't care about their kids. If you want to watch a documentary on this whole thing and understand the parents and the whole situation a lot better, HBO just put out a great whole documentary on it, so I'll leave a link to that below. But these parents, I can tell, were really good people, truly loved being parents, and monitored most of what their kids did. They had, you know, limited internet time and stuff, and they were very involved with their children, talking them through things, and they knew that their kids had an obsession with Slenderman. They just figured that it's fun and games, like most kids get into something creepy, you know? For me, as a kid, I was never into scary stuff, but I was really into like ER shows, like real ER shows, or I used to watch this show called Impact, where it was just about people dying from like insane impacts, like falling off things. But I guess I always had a fascination with like dying. I don't know why, that like was always with me as a kid, but my parents didn't think I was gonna kill someone, and I obviously didn't ever kill anyone or do anything to anybody. But it's fairly normal for kids to have odd obsessions or to be into scary things. That is not like a reason for a giant red flag and to think your kid's gonna actually carry something out, right? So I'm sure a lot of you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So Morgan Geyser and Anicia Weir were both friends who both struggled with friends, bullying. They definitely weren't like the most popular girls in school, and they were a little off. Anicia was the first one to come across the Slenderman story and got super obsessed with it. Now, she showed this story to her friend Morgan Geyser. The important thing to know about Morgan is she was later diagnosed with schizophrenia, and they don't just diagnose people with schizophrenia just because. Her father was diagnosed with schizophrenia and has been through it his whole life. So they both knew that it was a possibility that one of their children could end up with schizophrenia.
I wish that like I could talk to her about, like I have like right now, there's like, it's like patterns of like light and like geometric shapes. Everything seems normal to me because this is my everything. This is how I've always seen things, and I don't know if that was, everyone had like a weird little visual thing going on. Okay, this is clearly not real. But it doesn't matter. Like I've had where you can like see it and like you know it's not real. It totally doesn't matter because you're still terrified of it. The devil's not in the back seat, but the devil is in the back seat, you know?
And they always were sort of cautious with the way that she still believed in Santa when she was like pretty old. Would talk about like scary things under her bed and stuff.
We never thought for a moment that she could possibly believe that it was real. When I was Morgan's age, I remember biking home from the library with Stephen King's It, you know, so I liked that sort of thing too when I was her age, and I think most kids her age do like scary stories and horror movies and scary stories on the internet, you know? That's all that we thought that it was.
But how do you figure out if that's okay? Is that normal? Is that just being a kid? Or are they really seeing something? How do you tell? Because kids imagine things. I certainly imagined things. When I was little, I thought I had an imaginary friend named Grace. I don't have schizophrenia. I just had a good imagination. So how do you know when your kid is actually seeing stuff and when they're just imagining? So Morgan and Anicia would talk about Slenderman often and how they both believed in him. And after Anicia showed Morgan Slenderman, she became fully obsessed with it.
So I told her about them, and then she said, "Oh my God, I think I saw Slender when I was like 5. He's stalking you. You see him in your dreams. Do you just see him when no one else does?"
Like, they really thought Slenderman was a real character, and what they didn't know at the time was that Morgan was really seeing Slenderman. And the two of them decided that they wanted to become Slenderman proxies.
She has these proxies, or servants as people call them. Morgan said, "Hey, Anissa, we should be proxies." I was like, "Okay, how would we do that?" She said, "We have to kill Bella." And do you know why she said that? Like, why she said that? Because we had to supposedly prove ourselves worthy to Slender.
Which I guess meant you were able to live with Slenderman in his mansion, which the girls actually thought was a real place in Nicollet National Forest. And the only way to become one of Slenderman's proxies, they believed, was to kill a child in the name of Slenderman to prove that he was real, and that after that you would get to live the rest of your life with Slenderman in his mansion and have this great life, and he would never hurt you because you proved something to him. So I think it was really done out of fear of Slenderman, that if they don't do something, don't kill another kid, they will be killed themselves. That's what they really believed, and it's hard to get in the mind of these girls. And it's just like some kids just cannot see, especially kids with schizophrenia. And keep in mind, only Morgan has schizophrenia. But it's easy for kids to get completely caught up in something that's not true. So the girls decided that they needed to kill someone, and they decided that they needed to kill one of their best friends.
How well did you know these two other girls?
They were best friends since about 4th grade.
4th grade is when we met Morgan for the first time.
They say Peyton would talk to Morgan every night on the phone. The other 12-year-old, Anissa Wire, they had not met, but they say Peyton knew her from school.
Her name is Peyton, and I don't want to talk much about her because this poor girl has been through so much. They had a sleepover with her the night of May 30th, and it was like a birthday party thing at Morgan's house.
Oh my gosh, she was so excited.
And had she gone on sleepovers before?
Oh yeah. And this was just her best friend's birthday party.
Another Friday night.
So she was gonna go roller skating, have some pizza, and spend the night at her best friend's house.
Yeah. They were probably gonna watch movies.
And so you thought this
and play American Girl. Peyton brought her American Girl doll with her.
And Morgan's parents were there. They were super involved with them. They said the girls had a great night, and their plan was to kill her during the night at Morgan's house. But they got nervous, and Morgan said that she wanted to give Peyton one more morning before she killed her. And the girls the next morning woke up and they had breakfast. They had specifically donuts and strawberries. Morgan's mom had breakfast with them. She said it was a gorgeous Saturday and the girls were laughing and having fun. There were no red flags at all. So like as a parent, how would you have any idea what these girls were secretly planning? Because they had to keep it all secret in the name of Slenderman. So they never told their parents anything. The parents had no way of knowing that this was gonna happen. So the girls asked to go to the park, and Mom said yes, because yes, you can go to the park. And they're all 12 years old at this time. I forgot to mention how old they were. They all like went to this park, and they were in the bathroom at one point, and they almost did it there, and then they got too nervous. So they finally convinced Peyton to play this game of hide and seek. And I guess Peyton was reluctant, didn't want to play hide and seek. But they told her, if you let us play the game we want to play right now, you can pick the game that we play after this. And sometime while they were playing hide and seek in the forest,
I told Bella we were gonna play hide and seek. We were gonna hide one place, I was gonna hide another, and then Morgan and I were gonna be like lionesses chasing down the zebra.
After much argument about who was actually gonna carry this out,
They had a knife on them. Morgan hands me the knife and says, I can't do it, you know where all the soft spots are. And then I give it back to her and say, you do it, just go ballistic. And then Morgan said, I'm not doing it until you tell me to.
Morgan stabbed her while she screamed 19 times.
I started walking away, and then like when I was 5 feet away, I said now.
And Anissa says now.
She said Morgan, now.
And Anissa turns her back.
Morgan got on top of Peyton's legs. She sat on her legs, and then she got her face real close to Peyton and whispered in her ear, I'm so sorry.
The whole time, I guess she was screaming and saying she couldn't see, and I hate you, and I trusted you, and they were saying, I'm so sorry. And I think neither of them like had anything against Peyton. They didn't want to kill her. In fact, they still talk about her to this day as if she's their friend and they love her. They just were so scared of this Slenderman character that they thought this just had to be done.
I didn't want to do this.
What did you do with him?
Because I was afraid of what would happen if I didn't. I was really scared, knowing that Slenderman could easily kill my whole family in 3 seconds.
When Morgan said to you that if we don't do this for Slender, our families and loved ones are going to be killed, do you honestly believe that?
Well, yeah.
So she was laying there like on the verge of death, and the girls said, we're gonna go get help for you, and they left. But afterwards, they just decided the best plan was to start walking towards this Nirit National Forest, which is actually like a 4 to 5 hour drive from where they were, and they thought they were gonna walk there. So these girls were like completely delusional. So they took the knife with them, put it in their bags, and started walking. And now this is just amazing. Peyton, God, what a tough kid. She crawled out of the forest with 19 stab wounds. She somehow managed to crawl out of the forest and get onto the street and just the road and lay there. And a cyclist came by her and called 911, obviously.
And you were biking by and she says to you what?
Could you help me, please? I've been stabbed multiple times. I quick got out my cell phone. I was shaking and dialed 911. I just stayed with the 911 operator. And
911. What's the address of your emergency?
Waukesha County, Lynn. I'm transferring over a caller on Big Bend at the dead end just south of Rivera.
Okay.
Came upon a 12-year-old female. She appears to be stabbed.
She appears to be what?
Stabbed.
Stabbed?
Correct.
Okay.
Sir, you still there?
Yes. Hi, sir. So are you with this 12-year-old female?
Yeah, she says she's having trouble breathing. She said she was stabbed multiple times.
Stabbed multiple times?
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Are you with her right now?
Yes.
Is she awake?
She's awake.
Is she breathing?
Yeah, she's breathing. She said she can take shallow breaths. She's alert.
Okay, stay with her. We're sending the police department. Don't hang up, okay?
Oh,
hold on just a minute. Don't hang up.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on just a minute, sir. We're sending officers.
Okay.
Is there any assailant around?
I didn't even look. I don't see anybody.
Stay right with her, sir. Is she on the ground or is she standing up?
No, she's laying on the grass.
Laying on the grass. Stay right with her. Just let me know if she is remaining conscious or not, okay?
Okay.
Is there any bleeding going on?
Her clothing has got blood on it.
Where are the wounds? Do you see where the wounds are?
No, I don't know if I should be rolling her over and checking or not. I'm bothering you at all? My shade? Okay. See, they're very strong.
And she didn't say who did this or how it happened?
I don't know if she wants to be talking. I started to ask her, and then
that's okay. If she's
got to save her energy, I think.
Okay.
I offered her water because I had a water bottle on my bike. The other thing she said was she's having trouble breathing.
The stab wounds were horrible. They were all over her arms, her abdomen, her legs, her chest. One was so close to her heart, it missed her heart by 1 millimeter.
And when you looked at her, it was immediately apparent she'd been stabbed multiple times.
Yeah, to her chest and abdomen and arm and leg.
Doctors concerned she might not survive.
2 of the stab wounds hit major arteries, so the chances of her surviving this were so slim. She could barely speak. She could pretty much only answer yes or no questions when they found her because she was in so much pain. But she was able to tell them, my friends did this to me, and their names.
I said, Peyton's been stabbed. Morgan stabbed Peyton. You need to come home. They need to rush Peyton into surgery. Walked into the trauma room that she was in, and she was pale as a ghost. She was terrified. She was crying. She couldn't breathe.
But she saw you there.
She saw me, and she put her hand out, and I rushed over to her, and I put my arms around her, and I laid next to her, and I hugged her, and I said, "You're gonna be okay. It's gonna be fine." And all I hear is, there's 5 on her arm, there's 7 on her leg, and I'm thinking, what, 7? What? The nurse says, all right, I count 19, and then the second nurse said, I count 19 as well. 19? What? There's no way.
Now, anyone who is stabbed in the cardiac box or this area has pretty much a 25 to 50% chance of survival.
The knife came directly down at this point where this large branch was coming off of this major artery and cut through the tissue overlying it so that the vessels were totally exposed by this injury.
The knife cut through the tissue, but not the artery itself.
Exactly. The knife stopped at the wall of the artery.
And had it not?
He would have had a major heart attack from the amount of bleeding and probably died within a minute or 2.
Luckily, Peyton survived. So the 2 girls were found walking down the street with their bag, and the police literally just found the weapon right on them in their bag, and they never tried to deny it.
The 2 other girls are found. They were right here along Interstate 94 heading out of Waukesha. A knife with a 5-inch blade found in one of the girls' bags.
So the girls were brought in for questioning. They explained the whole Slenderman thing.
Who's Slenderman?
He's this tall, faceless man who preys on children.
Who tells you about him?
He's everywhere.
How do you know that?
Because I've read so many things about him.
Tell me about him.
He watches you.
How does he watch you?
He can read minds and he has teleportation skills.
Why did you decide to stab Peyton?
It was necessary.
And how they didn't want to do this to her, and they wished that it could have been pushed back and avoided completely, but they knew they had to do it.
I wanted to give her at least one more morning.
You wanted to give Bella one more day?
I wanted to see if they could put it off forever, but it didn't seem to work out like that.
They were even concerned, they even asked about their friend Peyton. So it's such a hard situation because these girls truly were just completely out of their minds at the time.
Geyser's family left the courtroom in tears, refusing to speak. When we pressed Wyer's father about the crime, he offered this.
Just shocked as well by everyone else.
We have no comments at this time. Only that we have no comments at this time.
Geyser's attorney did offer this apology to the victim's family.
Morgan's parents are very sad about what has happened. They're horrified, and our condolences to everyone.
Like I said, Peyton survived. After only 6 days in the hospital, she was released. She actually started school back up in fall of 2014.
Some people would say she's doing remarkably well, given what's happened to her.
I would say that way beyond expectations. I'm astonished at the way that she's been able to recover.
And tonight, we are happy to show you the pictures. Her walk down the driveway to the car. Mom driving her back to school.
So Morgan and Anicia were incarcerated for years, unable to see their families really. I think they had very minimal contact with their parents, barely got to see their siblings at all, or aunts and uncles. They couldn't see them. And the judge in the case ruled that they would be tried as adults, which I never understand that. Like, they're children, they're 12, they're juveniles. I just feel like all juveniles should be tried as juveniles, but they were tried as adults. Now, I'm curious to see what kind of feedback this is gonna get, because in my Derek Robbie video, which if you haven't seen it, it was about another kid who killed another kid. And he's still in prison to this day. He's lived his whole life in prison, and he was 13 when he committed the crime. And he was psychologically messed up, was abused as a kid, went through tons of shit, was probably schizophrenic. And in my video I said that, you know, I think that after some time you should be released, because this guy is spending his whole life in prison. And there's been appeals like multiple times to get him released and, you know, start rehabbing him, sending to some type of rehab center to get better, because locking people up, especially people with mental illness, is literally only making it 1,000 times worse. And when I said this in my video about Derek, I was really shocked at the comments back to me like, are you out of your mind? He needs to stay in jail forever. And like, I completely understand people's opinions on that. So like, I'm not here to tell people they're wrong for thinking that, or to tell people who think that these girls should be held responsible in full and put in prison their whole lives, or possibly get the death penalty. Some people really think that. And if you think that, then, you know what, I'm not gonna fight you, because what they did was terrible. But I do wish more people would understand mental illness and how serious it can get. And can you hold someone accountable when they are sick? Morgan is being incarcerated in a place with no windows, no outdoor time, no access. And this little girl has serious diagnosed schizophrenia. And can you imagine what being in a jail cell with no access to your family or the outside world would do to you? So the trials just happened. They are still in the process of Morgan's sentencing and stuff. They both pleaded not guilty due to insanity.
Morgan and I decided that we would make an attempt to fulfill the plan at the park. I didn't realize that it was actually going to happen until Morgan lifted up her waistband and showed me the handle of the knife. Morgan jumped on top of her and stabbed her repeatedly.
What happened at a certain point, the two of you left?
Yes, I thought that it was just about proving that this fictional character existed. I have no idea what Morgan's motivations were. I thought it was just about proving that something most people thought wasn't real was.
The case has since taken 3.5 years to go to trial, and just days before Geyser's trial was to begin, a plea deal.
We actually reached a resolution of the case with the district attorney's office.
Long suspected, prosecutors now acknowledge that Morgan Geyser's early onset schizophrenia was a major factor in the crime, agreeing a jury would have found her not guilty at trial.
And that breaking news, 15-year-old Slenderman stabbing suspect Morgan Geyser will avoid a trial.
With a plea now almost finalized, Geyser is facing up to 40 years in a mental hospital. The deal does not contain a minimum sentence, meaning she could ask to be released at any point.
Morgan has been receiving institutional mental health care for the past 2 years, and she's made incredible strides. She's being properly medicated, and we're hopeful that when the doctors deem her appropriate for discharge, that she will be released at whatever point in time that is.
Meyer pleaded guilty to a lesser charge, but was also found mentally ill in a jury trial earlier this month. She faces at least 3 years in a mental institution.
In my opinion, it's just so much better to rehab a person than to just lock them away and throw away the key. And that's what happens to so many people that could be rehabbed and start doing good things for society. These girls are so young. And I mean, at the end of the day, no one was gonna win this case. I mean, it's obvious they carried out this attempted murder. Thank God it didn't actually result in a death, but they clearly did it. Morgan really truly sees things. She was seeing people in her jail cell. She believed in imaginary friends fully and still struggles with that to this day. I'm happy with how this turned out for several reasons. One, because Peyton lived through this, and what a badass, what a tough kid.
Uh-oh. And for that birthday, Peyton headed back.
I know I'm working on it.
The one place that still makes her smile most, the animal shelter, not far from home.
This is a good place to come.
There have been other moments of joy too. The Katy Perry concert she went to, ready to show me her video. We have not asked her about those moments in the woods. There is no reason to relive that pain. But her parents have told us from the start they wanted us to see her smiling again. The smile they feared they lost for good. When we went inside Peyton's room, her walls were covered in purple hearts, Peyton's favorite color. On them, messages from children and from parents all over the world, all of them writing to the survivor who told her parents, "I wanted to live."
I just think that's amazing. And secondly, I'm happy that a jury was able to understand that these girls are so young and so sick and need help, not to be locked away for the rest of their lives. Things are not going to be easy for either of them. All three of them have been through serious trauma. Morgan has serious schizophrenia that is going to be a lifelong battle for her and her parents. If anything, this is such a cautionary tale about parents. Like, if I have any parents out there watching, I'm sure I do, you gotta make sure that you're watching your kid, not just kind of monitoring how much time they're on the internet, but they're watching what they're doing. And if they're looking into something like Slenderman over and over and over again, I think you gotta have a talk about Slenderman. Make sure they know that it's not real. Ask them more questions. And, you know, looking back, I'm sure the parents wish they could have done things way differently. So this was a very serious video, clearly, but it's a scary story. I knew you guys wanted me to talk about Slenderman so bad for this Freak Week series, but I just didn't want to like spread the fake story of Slenderman anymore after what happened to Peyton. It just felt wrong. So I hope you guys enjoyed learning about another real life true crime case. I know this isn't as spooky or probably not leaving you shaking in your boots, but I think real life crime is way more scary than urban legends. Anyway, that's it for me today, guys. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you like Freak Week, be sure to let me know in the comments so I know whether or not to do it next year, because I think I probably will. It's been really fun. We still have one more video left. It will go up on October 30th. But that's it for me today, guys. I want to know your opinion on this. I know that there's gonna be different opinions out there, and that's fine. You guys don't have to agree with me. I wanna know what you think. Do you think this is a good outcome, or should it have been harsher? Should it have been less harsh? That's it for me today, guys. I hope you're having a spooky day, and I'll see you tomorrow for the last day of Freak Week.